joined, as always, by the from him outside of the.
Oh man.
Oh boy.
No man.
Yeah, we're having issues. We wanted Christian Piles on live from M2. He decided to go a little Kyle Dake and do it out in nature. I don't know if that was the best choice. So on our end, Christian is currently frozen. I believe he's still talking. He cannot hear us right now because of the internet situation. But this is episode 516 of FRL. I'm joined by Ben Askren and JD Raider. Ben, is your internet fine in Manitowoc County?
Oh, you're gonna go on the Manitowoc County thing now. But I am not in Manitowoc County. Not that I have anything against people that live in Manitowoc County. But my internet's great. I'm fantastic. I had outstanding morning. Yesterday I grinded 150 stumps. Me and Jake Rauschka, Kigo Tool, we went on a mission.
That's it.
That's it. Well, a lot of them were really easy because I have a lot of buckthorn on my property, so it's like say this big, right? So you just gotta go down. Well, I'll tell you, it's not much of a stump except it will take out your mower blade, which has happened multiple times now. I'm trying to save the mower blades. Christian's trying to come back, but he's not really back. Someone tell him.
There we go.
CP, you back?
I'm trying to be back. Am I not back?
Oh, you're back. You're back. Do it.
Okay. So there's plenty of stumps to grind out here, Ben, if you want to come to the M2 training center. That's
what would David pay me, you think? Think he'd pay me as like a groundskeeper or something?
I think so. Maybe he technique.
Oh, Christian's done. cut the feed.
We might have to cut you, Christian.
All right.
We tried yesterday at work. They have good internet in New Jersey. They don't have good internet in Pennsylvania, apparently, or at least. Hey, you know what? CP always makes fun of me for my phone. Maybe it was CP's iPhone. I'm gonna blame the iPhone here, and that's the problem.
They have good enough internet to upload some good content, though. Some good stuff going on.
Yeah, they were in Jersey when they uploaded that content.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So if you want to go to State College, Pennsylvania, you will have great wrestling coaching, but you will have terrible internet.
Yeah. Ben, so did you get a chance to watch the Dake Chamizo sparring session yesterday? Our man JD pulled a little clip from it. He was wrestling Evan Wick.
I bet it was fantastic, though.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
So see if we can get that one pulled up. It's very interesting because Wick, obviously phenomenal wrestler, but style-wise and body-wise, I don't know if he's the best simulation for Dake, right?
Yeah. Because Evan shoots a lot. He's obviously tall, lanky. Dake, not nearly. Dake's like, what, 5'9", 5'10", I feel like. He's shorter than me. Yeah. Weird.
So there's how long is that clip, JD, on the site that CP uploaded yesterday?
20-plus minutes.
So we got 20 minutes of Chamizo sparring with Wick. Again, I don't know about the simulation there, but, Ben, obviously you've been through MMA camps. If you can't necessarily simulate the guy and you're trying to get, high-level people out there to compete with you, what are you trying to do when you're trying to prepare for a high-level match like this?
Yeah, I mean, I would say who would replicate Kyle Dake? I was just trying to think kind of in my head, like, who would I get to replicate Kyle Dake? Because that's, I don't want to say unreplicatable, but he is fairly unique, which, Dake's has the same problem because Chamizo is very unique, right? There's not someone who can replicate his style. I know when I had to wrestle Jordan Burroughs last year, I tried bringing in Mekhi Lewis, but he couldn't do it. And I tried bringing in Zahid Valencia, and he wasn't able to come. I wanted to get the feel of someone firing off hard doubles because and not that those guys can replicate Jordan, but they can at least, shoot some pretty hard doubles.
Right. Well, there's a difference between replicating and just like approximating.
Exactly. I mean, you gotta do the best you can. Like, who's going to replicate Kyle Dake and who's going to replicate Frank Chamizo? And the truth of that matter is, both of them are not replicated, right? So you have someone as close as possible. So maybe Frank Chamizo saying, "Listen, I just got to get in good shape." Evan Wick wrestles a really hard pace that will definitely help him get in shape. That's for sure. And obviously, this is only 1 week. Who knows who else he's brought in for the camp?
Yeah, exactly. They were just there for one day. the event's not till the 25th, so you got over 3 weeks still of training to go. I'm sure he's going to try to bring in other guys. I know me and JD were talking about this yesterday, and you had an idea of who you could use to simulate Dake.
Jaden.
Oh,
If you have to pick, if you have to pick somebody just freak defense wise, can do alien stuff, really good from one leg. But
I don't feel like Jane does a lot of upper body stuff. I mean, that's where Kyle Dake really excels, and so I was thinking someone who has the dynamic defense and upper body stuff, and that's where I was.
I also don't think Chamizo really cares too much. I think he wrestles his style no matter what.
That's true. Yeah.
There's a little clip. CP did an interview. Tyler, if you can pull it up, it's in there. He said he doesn't even watch any video and actually kind of laughed
yes.
at the thought of it and said one of the reasons he liked Italy so much.
Can you please say this in the Frank Chamizo voice?
Oh, bro. We have the clip here.
Yeah, let's just play the clip because this is going to be a meme. Go ahead and run this real quick, Tyler.
Do you watch a lot of film? Do you watch a lot of wrestling outside of your own matches?
Nah, bro. Nah. No.
Why? I don't see why you couldn't replicate that.
That's the next big meme, Ben. Anytime we disagree with somebody now, we're just gonna hit them with the nah, bro. Nah.
Yeah, that's funny. I was never a big tape watcher of my opponents. When I was coming up in wrestling, I always loved watching tape of whoever I thought was great at wrestling. I would watch John Smith or Kale or Dave Schultz or Satiev, kind of whatever I could get my hands on because I wanted to see what they were doing. And so I was never a big fan of watching my opponents. And even for the Olympics, I had a few people scout my opponents and kind of give me just the notes. I didn't really want to watch all that much.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, in my opinion, someone has to be watching film, whether it's the athlete, whether it's a coach, or someone, so they're just cognizant of what the other person does.
And Valentin is watching video for Chamizo, I know.
Right.
He said something along the lines of, Valentin said, watch Dake's so-and-so matches and said this or told me to do this, but Chamizo, no.
But I would say by the time, I don't even wrestle anymore. And I watch a good amount, but say Dake and Chamizo they're both going to the World Championships, and whether they like it or not, that other person is there, so they should at least have a good idea of what their style looks like. I would know that Kyle Dake is strong. He's not a high volume shooter. He likes to dig an underhook. He's got really strong defense. He's got a good chest wrap. I would know without watching any film, and I haven't watched any film for his Chamizo match, I would know those things, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's also a little different when you're preparing for the World Championships, where you could have any number of opponents
versus one.
Versus one a one-off MMA type card.
No, I'm just saying for this July 25th card, they probably already have a good idea of what each other does. Even if they've never explicitly studied for each other, just having each other be around, right? I'm sure they've observed casually. And guys who are that good at wrestling, when they observe casually, they kind of get it,
Mm-hmm. And then the last thing from that perspective, if someone else is watching the film for you, say you have a coach, how do you intake that information? Do you want them to kind of right before the match give you a few things in the training camp, or just filter it out and you don't even realize they're talking about your opponent? They're just saying, hey, let's work on this. Let's be cognizant of that.
Well, hopefully my coach knows me, right? Well, they would. And they know what I do well and what I do poorly. And then on top of that, they know things that may or may not give me problems. Right? I talk about Quentin Wright. Did I watch film for Quentin Wright? No, but did I know he's gonna try to unhook me? Yup, I knew that. Because why? Because I've been around. So what do hey, listen, all I know is I need to shut down the underhook. That's literally the only thing. I didn't watch any film. I just know, listen, in my head I already know. I gotta shut down your underhook. That's it.
But what if you get got there? What if there's a secondary thing that people don't often get to because the guy's so dominant with his first move, but they get you with the second?
Well,
you didn't watch any film, you don't know.
No, but I was good enough to know that. Listen, I know that Okay, listen, I may say I'm semi-arrogant, but obviously I won the match, so it's fair enough. Oh man, I forgot to turn my light on. I'm gonna go turn my light on today. I just realized it looked dark. I sometimes don't look at myself. Well, I knew that was so for me, right? That one match, I knew he was so strong in that one position that he was heavily reliant on that one position, and I knew I could likely shut it down. And I knew if I was able to force him to wrestle other positions, I was going to win those other positions. Mm-hmm. Right? I knew he was a pretty good scrambler, but not quite as good. So I was going to win the majority of the exchanges there. I knew parterre, I would have a good chance to turn him on top and on bottom. It was unlikely that he was going to turn me, you know? And so it's like, well, I kind of knew those things about that without really watching any film. And that's kind of what I would say. Chamizo and Dake, they probably, like, man, maybe Chamizo is a space cadet, but I would have to assume that he knows Kyle Dake likes underhooks and has a good chest wrap.
Well, also, well, yeah, that for sure.
Oh, no, wait. Can we do like a 6-second break so I can turn my light on?
Yes. Go ahead and get your light turned on. So, JD, we talked about this last week, but you obviously weren't on the show. Who do you think this favors in terms, like, first time you wrestle certain guys, like DeSanto is one that comes to mind. People often say, you can't simulate this guy, you just have to feel it and kind of know what's coming. Where do you lean in terms of first time putting your hands on this guy, it favors Dake or it favors Chamizo? For this particular matchup.
Chamizo.
Why is that?
Because, well, they're both freaks, but It's much harder, in my opinion, to emulate or stylistically match what Chamizo does in terms of hit pressure, crazy defense switches, whatever your stuff like that. Like, I think you're just better off getting a feel for that and then coming back and wrestling a second time.
See, I'm a little I know what you're saying. I'm a little the other way because of the power of Dake. Our man Chris Walker and I shot this video.
Power is something like, how do you come back and like better combat that?
Oh, you can combat that. Like, you're with some guys. I've been calling this in practice. I don't know what I said, but the kids at my camp, they got the juice. When they got the juice, you're like, oh God, I didn't feel that one coming. Like, I know one guy I wrestled. He actually eventually bronze medaled at Worlds. His name was. He was an Indian guy. He was really short and stocky. What was that guy's name? I think he got popped for steroids, so it's probably no wonder he had the tears. Yadav, yes, Yadav. I wrestled him in 2010 at the Hargobin in Vancouver. And obviously, like, I'm very comfortable in some positions. And in that, that was 3-period system. At first, I let him get a few positions where I normally would win said positions, right? And he was like, poof, when he just picked me up, and I'm like, oh, damn, this guy's got some juice. I better not let him get there anymore, And so then second period, I was a lot more cautious of where I was going to let him get to because I felt how much power he had. I mean, the guy was unbelievably strong. The only guy with up and down power, like the ability, like a hydraulic lift to lift me like that I've ever felt besides him was Isaiah Martinez. So I mean, he was like on a very unique level. So the second period, I'm like, okay, I have to be cautious. I can't let him get underneath me because this dude will snatch me up like no one I've ever wrestled, pretty much. And I did, and then I ended up gassing him out, and I won the second and third periods after losing the first period because I let him get the positions. I wasn't ready for his power. I really wasn't.
Well, that's the other thing with power, and I don't really think this applies to Dake, but when you have that much power in your muscles, you often get tired easier and quicker. Yeah, and so having to JD's point, like knowing how to defend to kind of weather that storm, I think. But I don't really think Dake gets tired. I know he looks tired all the time, matches, especially when he comes over. Like basically every match when he comes over in between periods, he looks physically exhausted. Like just,
I think he is.
But I don't. You think he is?
I think he is.
I think he's just tough.
I think he. Well, okay. Listen, guys. Think about this. Let's just rewind. Think about someone and the first time they ever get exhausted. How do they deal with that? They freaking panic. They act like they're gonna die. They crumble, right? And that's why, like, when I'm coaching wrestling and I see a kid get tired for the first time, like really tired, they don't know how to handle it. It is not a good reaction for them. And so it's like an acquired taste. Jake is the ultimate competitor. He gets tired, and the other guy who was really good at this, who would get so exhausted but would still wrestle, is Nick Marable. Nick Marable would get so tired he was going to fall over, and then boom, he would explode again. And they were just really tough and really good at wrestling when they are tired.
I think Marable also was pulling a lot of weight. That probably didn't help his tiredness.
Well,
but yeah, I mean, some guys can just fight through it.
Remember, I'm talking about the practice room with Nick Marable.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about everywhere. Yeah. I knew him very well. So he definitely gasped, but he was so tough, he just wrestled through it most of the time.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, thinking about the power, like what comes to mind for me, and our guy Chris Walker, him and I shot a video. I'm kind of finishing up an article on it. But for me, one of the things that comes to mind is like, remember when he wrestled Zahid in Final X, and they were in the like Stieber JO position, and Dake chest wrapped, not like chest wrapped for points, but chest wrapped his way out and got his hips back, and there was this look. Because, I'm, like, across the mat. There was this look on Zeke and Pendleton and Zahid, and we're like, all right, what the heck? Like, what the heck? That's how could we have possibly trained for that, Like, because Zahid was in great position. Zahid kept attacking, and, I mean, he got that really nice ankle pick to start. Was it to start the second period of the second match or the first period of the second match? Either way, I can't remember. So he obviously made adjustments, but that's kind of what comes to mind for me when you're, like, feeling that power for the first time. Even a guy like Chamizo, who is as JD said, world class with his hip pressure. I think that's going to be hard to match. And also, look, Chamizo's coming up, right? Chamizo. I know a lot of people are getting mad at him because of the Italy thing, because of the Burroughs thing last year. But like, look, Chamizo stepped up to the challenge. He's bumping up in weight. He's the one giving up weight, or at least he's going to be smaller.
He said after training, he's about 78 kilos.
Right.
Walking around. So
he's going to walk. He's going to step on the mat and basically weigh what he weighs.
Yes.
And Dake has to cut something.
So, I mean, hey, so we never talked about this, Nomad. Did we on the show? Okay, I don't know if you were on this episode or not. Where someone who went back and found it for us.
Kozak.
Kozak went back and found it. So Dake was 3 pounds underweight, but remember that was when they get a 2 pound allowance. So it's 79 plus 2 minus 3. That makes 78 kg. So he weighed in at 78 kg. Obviously, if he's 3 kilograms under, he's not cutting weight to be 3 kilograms under. That would be utterly ridiculous. So he is.
Dake knows how to cut his weight smarter than that.
You would think, right? That's a whole 6.5 pounds underweight.
Right.
Yeah. So he obviously is not that big. If he's weighing in at that just like normally, he's not all that big. So I got to assume he's not cutting that much weight.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I just think I think the power is, and look, that's a really simplistic also approach, right? I mean, power can be applied in so many ways in a wrestling match. But
yes.
When I look at Dake and you look at chest wrap, mat return when you get to rear standing, body lock, which I think is a position that favors Dake in this matchup. That's where I kind of think the power comes in. But we have seen Chamizo do some otherworldly things. And I think also the parterre, and I think I've mentioned this before, but the parterre also interests me because I feel like Chamizo scores a lot more from lace parterre defense than gut parterre defense.
Lace parterre defense.
I don't know. I feel like he steps over a decent amount of guts.
You're right. And Mike Mal did a really good breakdown called Dake is gut-minded.
From laces, but scoring off of from a parterre, bottom parterre, I would say gut.
Well, now we got to do an analysis.
Do the research.
Because now
John Kozak.
No, just have us. Well, John could do it if you wanted, but we could do that article. I think that would be a really interesting article to do prior to it, because you could I mean, Chamizo wrestles a bunch, and basically all of it's online, and we have most of the Dake matches online too, so we'd be able to find that pretty easily. Like, what's Dake's gut? I mean, I think Mike did it. Like, he's averaging 1.2 guts per match over the last 2 world championships. That's elite, Ben.
Wait, 1.2 guts per match. So we're talking 2.4 points per match?
Yeah,
per match.
Something like that.
That's pretty I mean, because then you're thinking, obviously, if one match doesn't get one, then another match has got 4.8 points. That's a lot of damn points from gut-wrenching people.
It would be, I don't know, I didn't read the article Mike did or video, but to see how many of those are off transition right away from a takedown versus guys flat, prime up, get your gut.
Right. So for that, you think of, and this he was doing Worlds, so I can't recall the Worlds matches as well, but domestically, you think about match 2 against Ringer last year, comes up in the body lock, Ringer tries to headlock him, comes down into the turn. Second one being 2017 trials, gets Isaiah up, power bombs him, goes right into the trap arm. The 3 matches you and I were watching last night, where Dake comes out right away and scores against Lopez Ascui, beat the Streets, against Demirtas at Mateo, and against David Taylor at 2015 Senior Nationals. So, yeah, it's not just parterre; it's parterre from neutral, which I mean, that's pretty scary time to for those guys to try to stop.
Yeah. Hey, so back to your original question, which kind of spawned all this discussion, is who is going to benefit more from it being the first time they wrestle each other? And I really feel like I kind of feel similarly about both of them, meaning that they're both really unique, and they would both, I feel, be hard to wrestle the first time. And even if you can watch something on tape, it's not the same as feeling, whether it's the power of Kyle Dake or whether it's the slickness of Frank Chamizo. It's just not the same, right? And watching it on film and then seeing it, feeling it, seeing
That's
it. That's
part of the hard to emulate argument.
Yeah, absolutely. So
there's no one to emulate. You don't get a feel unless you wrestle them.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's an advantage one way or the other.
I've one last question about this before we move on. And this doesn't really apply to this. This more applies to a tournament setting. But obviously, I totally agree. It's different feeling them and watching them on film. But within that, there's also a difference between watching a guy on film and watching them live. Like Matt's side, if your match ends and the next guy you're wrestling is up, would you prefer to stay and watch them? This is you personally, Ben. Would you prefer to stay and watch them or go do your thing?
Yeah, go do my thing.
Yeah, do your cool down, whatever, and stretch and get ready for the next
Yeah,
match.
I mean, you think, well, obviously this is me as a high level athlete. I'm probably, again, like NCAA championships, USO, whatever. I'm already gonna know kind of, again, who I'm wrestling in the finals and what their strengths, weaknesses are. If you're at some random kids tournament or whatever, I would actually tell. I don't really. Okay, this is gonna sound strange, but I kind of like kids not knowing what other kids do, so they have to figure out how to adapt within matches. Right? That's a huge strength. So it's like, I don't want to know exactly what they do. I want kids to have to feel it and figure it out on the fly almost.
Sure, and that's also like a development thing versus a high. When you're at the level that I was asking about, like a college or a senior level, there's like you're trying to win versus the level you're talking about where you're trying to get the kids to be familiar with the position. So two different things also. But that's definitely valuable, getting kids to be like, hey, you got to figure it out. You got to feel this, and I'll help coach you through it, but it's your job. Yeah. So did you actually watch the matches from this weekend, Ben? Because you hadn't.
I did. I watched them last night. I watched them. I watched the main 3. So I watched Pledger Lugo, Ashnault. I'm sorry, Ashnault. Where did I get Ashnault from? Oliver Nolf and Downey and Rao. And hey, listen, I guess there's no weigh-ins because Lugo and Pledger were looking large, amigos.
Lugo looked much larger.
Pletcher did not look skinny, though. He was looking pretty thick.
Yeah, but Lugo I thought Lugo had. I mean, I don't know because there's no weigh-ins, but I thought Lugo had 10 pounds on him, easy.
I could see that, but I don't think Pletcher was anywhere close to 141 pounds.
It would be interesting. I don't know if they even stepped on a scale to see those numbers if they did.
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
What I saw from Lugo was a lot of what I saw this year from him, where I thought his scrambling,
his
improved.
reattacks were so crisp.
I thought
the timing.
Yes. And that's what I think the difference was for Lugo this year as opposed to last year, where a lot of people were saying, and like CP made this point a lot, right? Iowa's variability is what could hurt them at NCAAs. And I said, okay, sure, there's definitely some guys that the results would suggest variability, different. But this year's Lugo was the same guy that we saw. I thought the Lugo we saw from November to March was the same guy that we saw on Sunday.
Yes, I agree. One of the things that I think really hurt Pletcher did such a good job this year of moving people with his setups.
He was not able to do that against Lugo.
He didn't move him at all, right? And that was what led to both. He had good reattacks during the season, and then obviously his own good attacks. He wasn't able to move Lugo at all. Because he wasn't able to move Lugo at all, he just didn't find any good attacks, right? He barely, I don't think he got any. Did he get in on any good attacks at all?
I don't remember him getting in on on many. I
Anything
know that.
good.
Well, I know that Lugo. So they if you remember when Pletcher wrestled Chad Red, who's number one, right? And they both had the leg up position, and
Yeah.
who's number one, they were there for like 15, 20 seconds. In that one, or in the one on Sunday, Lugo got out quickly and chased him down. I probably thought Pletcher should have been given a caution and won there because I thought he kind of dove out as Lugo was chasing him down. But that was really the only time, and Lugo clearly won the position. He had to extend it a little bit, but he won it, within 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah. You know what? You know what Lugo uses that totally went away, and I'm very curious to see if it actually comes back. Is that like the head and hold for the front headlock? Like that kind of went away totally. Like I haven't seen that in 10 years used very frequently. It'll be interesting to see if that comes back because he did it really well.
Yeah, great throw by too. So I'm curious to see. Excuse me. I'm curious to see him on senior level, and we'll see what happens with Olympic trials if they have another qualifier or not. If they're just going to go with the guys they have. But then moving forward, 2022, I think 70 kilos for him would be tremendously interesting, and he has. He has a pretty good pedigree. What's up, Ben?
You think these are? You saying they're not going down? 65.
I'm sure if there's another way for him to qualify, he'll go down. But if they decide to just go with Olympic trials the way they are, and there are no more qualifiers, Lugo's not in.
You're right. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Last chance.
Yeah.
They have last chance. They're going to, right?
Okay. Yeah. So then if there's a last chance, I imagine Lugo will try to go down. But otherwise, just kind of thinking forward for him, I'd really like to see him at 70 kilos. His freestyle results are pretty solid. Where 2017 he made the junior trials finals opposite Deacon. He lost partially because his ankle got ripped up. And then I think he only went to Fargo once and he got like third. So, or maybe it's fifth. But so his limited freestyle experience suggests very good. The way he wrestles folk style suggests very good because he's hard to score on and he can score without touching legs. And then Pletcher's got limited freestyle experience, but has also had a good level of success. So I think both those guys are pretty interesting. Downey Rao was funny because, I was worried when it got to 8 they were just going to stop it because Greco and freestyle have different tech rules.
Yes.
And then he
but
got
they
to it.
I mean, because they said there's no technical fall, right? I mean, that was what the broadcaster said.
I didn't hear about.
Yeah.
I don't like gimmick things, right? I don't like no tech fall. I don't like no weigh-ins. I didn't like the DT. I know people wanted it, right? Where like DT wanted Downey, no techs, 4-minute periods. I think just like you just go with the rule set that there is, and with weigh-ins and everything. But
Sure.
If both guys agree to it as adults, like as men, they sign contracts, then obviously it's
I would love to see one where they signed a contract and it was a battle to the death, and you couldn't win unless you pinned them. You had to pin them. Listen, once I get new hip, I'm in for that.
BJJ style, submission only.
Yeah. Submission only. We'll go an hour. We got to pin each other. That would be so much fun.
So some guy just gets too tired where he just rolls over onto his back.
Yeah. You got to break him. But yeah, so the route. Sorry, we got totally off topic. That'll happen. The Rao Downey match. Greco for obviously, but there's switching styles. I think it makes sense that there's no tech nomad because say if it's freestyle first and Downey hits a leg lace and scores 11 points, and then Rao's able to come back and score a whole bunch of points on top in Greco. I mean, you can see how it would be. You have to let the other person get their chance.
Yeah, I hear that. I don't like hybrid rule sets. Like when Nicky Rod wrestled Downey, guys have wanted to wrestle freestyle Greco and Arthur. I just don't like that. I think you pick one. You just go that discipline. You go that rule set. I don't like when rule sets cross over. I like when we do it. I don't like when other people do it. I didn't like the old FPL rules that were half folk style, half freestyle. I'm gonna put that one on you.
That was a great rule set. Best rule set ever invented, potentially.
Yeah, and then I don't know what takeaways there are from J.O. Nolf other than J.O. looks like a 74 kilo.
He was big, huh?
He looked very big.
Not going back down.
I don't think he's wrestling 65 again.
That's a long ways away for him. I mean, right? Not time wise. I mean, literally size wise, it's a long ways down from wherever he's at to 65 kg.
I hear that, but this is a guy that for Olympic trials in 2012 went up the day of weigh-ins from 60 to 66.
Yeah.
This is a guy who went up 2 weight classes from 33 to 49 and didn't miss a beat, didn't give up a takedown, went undefeated, won a national title. Obviously, he had a great deal of success at 65, but he's 30 years old, and if his body is just big now, and it's going to help him. I mean, look, that's a tough weight cut for him. And if it helps him be a better wrestler, I understand that's a tougher weight, Ben, but there's also what's good for your body.
But okay, well, listen, if he's just gonna go up 74, he should probably just go fight MMA or go coach or something to that effect.
Okay, maybe, but he's gonna throw his hat in the ring because he's a competitor.
Well, I mean, but how long when you use that excuse till you're 40? I mean, if you're not really trying to make the team and you're 31 years old, go coach or go fight or go do something else where you can.
But I think he is going to try to make the team, though, Ben.
But come on, dude, he ain't beating Burroughs or Dake.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
Nolf, for as great as Nolf is at best number 4 right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't favor either of those guys at 74 at the Olympic trials.
They're both big for 65. But small for 74.
Nolf definitely ain't going 65.
No.
Yeah, Nolf could never make 65.
But I'm saying they're about the same weight right
now they look to be the same weight. And Jay even said as much on Justin Bosch's podcast.
Yeah.
He said we're like a couple pounds apart in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I don't get it. He's not making the team at 74. If you want to, if he doesn't really want to make 65, make the commitment. Which listen, I don't blame him. I'm sure he's gonna be a great coach. Go be a great coach. Go fight MMA. He's talked about that before. Go do other things. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'll be done on that topic.
Ben, a little harsher on. Go ahead.
But the match was terrible.
Yeah. It wasn't entertaining, and that's why Nolf, him and Nolf were like, yeah, we need to do that again. That was not satisfactory.
Why would they do it again? I'm not watching again.
That's what they want. I hear you as a fan, as a consumer, being like, "Well, I don't want to watch that again." But they both came out of that like, "Nah, that kind of stunk."
Jason Nova is literally one of my favorite college wrestlers of all time, but that match is boring as could be.
Do you think he was 100% LT?
Who? Which one?
Nolf.
I mean, it looked like it.
Yeah, he didn't look like he was favoring anything. He just wasn't super offensive.
So he got hurt, for context, for those that may not know, he got hurt at Bill Farrell pretty badly, couldn't walk that night, and wrestled at Pan Am's, the Pan Am Championships, the week before Pan Am qualifier, so that was early March. So this is his second competition this year, and he is, November, he's 8 months off the injury. Which doesn't mean you're 100%, but he has had time to get healed up,
train hard.
Yeah. But that was one of the things I wanted to look at too. Was he healthy? I don't necessarily know that injuries are what was holding him back in that match. I think it was just,
Yeah.
No, I personally don't think so.
He didn't want to force a bad shot, and Jo was keeping space. He does with the shoulder push thing. But I don't. There wasn't one scramble, was there? I'm not forgetting one.
No.
There wasn't one. There wasn't even one. I mean, obviously at the very, very end, there was that 2-point thing, but it was like.
What was your favorite shot clock point, Ben?
Great question. Oh, man.
That's rough, man. You got to really. And look, they've been off a while, so I mean, you're grading them on a curve, and those guys have obviously put up a ton of points. I mean, last time we saw Jo wrestle, he put up 50-0 on everybody. Last time we saw Nolf wrestle, he was putting up a ton of points. But refs hate going 3 shot clocks in a match. They definitely hate going 3 shot clocks in a match in an exhibition. Well, they got to do it. They're there to initiate points. They're like, all right, come on, guys, we got to do something here. So
not a good look at all for the main event. And I don't know that anyone would be paying those two to wrestle against each other ever again.
I would watch them run it back.
Why?
They said,
You're like that guy who the girlfriend did something mean to him, and you just keep giving her more chances, aren't you?
Jeez.
One more, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So.
Okay, there we go. That's fair.
So,
fool me once, can't get fooled again.
So you would not watch that match again if it were July 25th on Dake Chamizo or any time going forward?
No. If for some reason it's really exciting afterwards, I could go back and watch the replay, but I would not watch it live, no.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
This is a great time to do a little spot for our sponsor here, RX Sports. The show is brought to you by RX Sports, the official CBD partner of Flow Sports. JD, do you have any with you? We need to re-up. We need to get back
out of my desk.
We got a box of excellent stuff. The all-natural, highly concentrated CBD product, perfect for all your training recovery needs. Visit rxsportsinc.com/flowsports for an automatic 20% discount off your entire order to fire your pain with RX Sports. That is 1/5 off your order for those of you that can't do math. And yeah, we all use RX Sports here. Did CP send you any, Ben?
No, I do not have any at all.
All right, well, we need to get you some.
How rude.
How rude! He'll give you the link to watch We Are, but not the healing power of RX Sports. So thank you to RX Sports for sponsoring FRL, the second greatest show on the internet. JD Raider and I are on the greatest show on the internet, which is Who's Number One the Show. Although young James Dean will not be on this week because he'll be traveling back to. Well, can we say where you're traveling back to?
515, baby.
Okay. Well, they often say where I'm going, and I don't like it, so I wanted to make sure to give you the option.
No quarrels for me.
Yeah. JD's got an apartment. It's very nice. But he doesn't have a washer and dryer. He was over my house last night doing his laundry.
It's true.
So you're going to Iowa to get a washer and dryer or what?
No, because it's the 4th. Get out on a boat.
He's going back home with his family.
Got it. Because what's more American, JD, Iowa or Texas?
Ooh, Iowa, because Texas is more Texas.
Yeah, Texas is more about Texas.
Yes.
And wants to be its own state.
Texans love being from Texas.
Texas is just about Texas, nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
If Texas had its own currency, it would absolutely secede and just be its own thing.
Well, the Federal Reserve is a non-government-owned entity, so the Texas
why'd you bring up money? Why?
Texas.
I know, I screwed that up.
Texas could just make their own bank and print their own money. It's it's fiat currency. It's whatever.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into the our next topic, because we're going to be shifting away from kind of live wrestling, let's real quick, Tyler, run that clip, the promo for Dake Chamizo that they put up yesterday. Where Chamizo said, "Dake, you're scared of me," and remember that's July 25th in Austin, Texas.
Everybody know you got that, but I know who you are, who you represent. You scare me. You guys scare me. Absolutely, 100%. I know you guys scare me.
Kyle Dake, Frank Chamizo, July 25th. Chamizo bumping up from 74 kilos to wrestle a two-time defending world champion, 79 kilos, also on the card. DT versus Pat Downey at 86 kilos, and Anthony Ashton versus Luke Pletcher at 67 kilos. And there's probably going to be no fans, so watch live on Flow. Ben, there's more stuff coming out about COVID really affecting college wrestling financially. Yesterday, Iowa announced their fiscal year budget for 2021, and Tom Brands is going to get a 15% pay cut from what his base salary would have been.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
Yeah. Now he did just get.
It's gonna happen everywhere.
Yeah. He did just get a big raise. He got a contract extension, so he'll be making more. He'll still be making more next year, but it's 15% down, and I think that's good, right? I think that's. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good that Coach Brands is getting less money. I think it's good that the coaches are willing to
take a
kind of
decrease.
Do their part here, because in a lot of states, these coaches, especially the basketball and football coaches, are like the highest paid state employees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, and yet college athletes can't make a dime, but their college coaches can make a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, so I think in that way it's good that the coaches are the coaches are kind of bearing the brunt of that a little bit.
But no, man, don't we have bigger problems if football doesn't happen? Man. College athletic departments as a whole are in a whole lot of trouble. we are obviously experiencing a spike in the number of cases while the hospitalizations, death, to my knowledge, are not going up at nearly the rate. But we are now only, 2 months away from football season. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think people have to be kind of cognizant that we are getting close. And go ahead.
We'll see. Every day I feel like you see a new team. Texas Tech, 23 cases on the football team. Another day it's this team. They had 14 to 30 positive tests on the team. Yeah. So don't you guys think that's more of an indication that Corona is not as dangerous as initially led on to be? Because and I've been hearing this out of Missouri and I've heard it out of Wisconsin that, the athletes are being asked to take tests to come back at all, whether they feel sick or not, right? And a lot of them don't feel sick. They're completely asymptomatic and they're testing positive, but they would have never gotten tested, right? Unless they had to participate in sport. And so what you're seeing is a whole bunch of positive tests where they're asymptomatic. So I almost feel like that's not problematic, and that should reassure people that, hey, this thing is probably way more widespread than was initially thought, and it's probably not as dangerous as initially thought.
Well, I think it's definitely good to have as many people tested as possible, so we have an idea of what so there's
real
a couple
numbers.
things, right? So there's a couple things, right? There's like, okay, what is recovery rate? What is recovery rate for this, certain subpopulations of people, age, high levels of being immunocompromised, things like that, right? To have a better idea of what buckets to put people in. I also think it's good to know. I know Spay was putting something. There's the antibodies, there's the T cells that they were talking about yesterday. So there's a lot of different information, and I think just by testing people and getting more information, they'll be closer to actually being able to figure out what is safe, how close a potential vaccine is, and okay, can we have sports? What do they need to look like? So I'm perfectly fine with everybody getting tested, so there's more information available.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm actually getting my wife was getting her blood drawn, and I guess they test you for antibodies just for free. And so I decided to give blood and get my antibodies tested for free. So I'm doing that tomorrow. So I guess we'll find out if I had corona at some point in the past. And I think I'm around enough people where I think it's decently possible that I had it at some point in time and was asymptomatic because I got that Neanderthal DNA, so I just don't get sick.
You do have
I haven't been sick.
DNA.
I haven't been sick in like a decade.
You better knock on wood. You just asking for trouble. There's regression to the mean, brother.
Dude, I've been sick. Listen, I'm not gonna not be a caveman nomad. I'm a caveman for life, so I'm just not gonna get sick. How about that?
What do I do when I start feeling sick? I stop feeling sick and start feeling awesome. Ben Askren.
That's a great quote. I might try to start using that one.
Yeah.
But seriously, my wife will get the flu and be down for 2 days, and I'll have my stomach feel kind of funny for 12 minutes. And then that's it.
Or unless you get unnecessarily poisoned like you were talking about last week.
Well, I didn't even feel sick. I besides the CIA having mind control over me, I wasn't worried at all. I felt fantastic.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you, Ben. I don't get sick too much. You know who does? Andrew Spay.
Oh, yeah. Spay has a low constitution.
Also, happy belated birthday to Andrew Spencer Spay.
Big Roo.
Yesterday. Turned 29.
Turned 29 years old.
Is that for real, or is that you guys joking?
What do you think?
Well, some people, no, he wrestled Steve Mako, and he was older than Steve Mako. Yeah, no way he's 29.
There you go, Ben. Way to use your deductive reasoning.
Yep.
You know what else was funny about, because you just said the Steel and Lines thing. You said Heavy Chevy a week or two apart. It's a great line, but both times CP acted incredulous as though he'd never heard it before. And I'm like, CP, Ben just said that a week or two ago.
So I stole that one from my college coach, Bart Horton. He loved using the term Heavy Chevy, and I think it's great terminology. I think maybe we should rename the heavyweight weight class just the Heavy Chevys.
Get it sponsored? I love this.
Get it sponsored.
Now we're talking.
The winner gets maybe you got to put it in escrow or something, but the winner gets a Chevy. It's wins for everybody, man.
Everybody wins for everybody.
You get to show off the new thing. Hey, Tyler, bring up that clip. This was Coach Jimmy Andrade on the Bader Show, and this is another real effect of COVID, of colleges having to go through budget cuts.
I do want to say that Kent State just came down with some pretty big cuts with our university and our wrestling program. We're going from 10 scholarships to 5 scholarships this upcoming year.
Ooh, wow.
And we're gonna be starting some sort of campaign here shortly. This year, our scholarships are set. We're not going to be able to do a whole lot with them. So I've had to cut I've had to cut scholarships on every guy on my team. But for the future, I think we're going to be able to fundraise the money. So what's this? This is the 2021-22 season. We'll be able to fundraise that money back. At least that's what we're hoping.
So that's a very tangible effect of COVID, where a team that was fully funded, Coach Andrade said they were at 9.9, getting sliced in half.
That's huge.
Yeah. Oof, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, guys, but this could not be good for college athletics as a whole, as we're seeing.
Yeah, and it's very tough because, look, a lot of businesses, not every business. My cousin works for Zoom. They're doing well. But a lot of businesses are going through it right now, and therefore a lot of individuals are going through it right now. Coach Andrade said there would soon be a link up to contribute to them. So whether you're a fan of Kent State or not, if you have the means, please consider contributing. Their goal is to get $5 or $10 from 10,000 people and kind of whip the money up through micro donations. I know CSUB has been putting a lot of stuff out right now. George Mason just had a giving drive. So I know it's not easy right now. A lot of people are in very tough times, but if you have the means, please consider giving, even if you're not a fan of these college programs, because if you're a fan of, Penn State or Iowa or Oklahoma State, you would much rather that Kent State exists and you guys can wrestle them and beat them than Kent State or CSUB or George Mason not exist. And again, I don't think those programs are necessarily in trouble, but just any budget cuts to those programs, could have negative impact.
It's going to be a hard time to fundraise too, because just
extremely
as a whole, less people are going to be willing to donate. But even, I had discussions with my alma mater, UNK. Their camps are huge revenue getter for them
JD,
during the summer.
Are you a Marty guy? How old are you, JD?
I don't know him. He's pre my time in Kearney.
Oh, okay, so you're not that old.
No, I'm not that old. But
okay.
They weren't able to.
I thought you might be a Marty. Go ahead. Sorry, I keep interrupting. I'm being.
I wish Marty Usman nothing but the best. And yes, he is known as Marty in UNK wrestling.
I wasn't lying. People thought I was lying. Yeah, but go on about the camps, because this is zero college programs could have camps. They can't even go other places to coach people. There are no contact.
Now, because UNK doesn't have their camps on campus, normally they could still have them, and they have rescheduled them. But at the time, they said, when they were scheduled to occur in June, they said, no camps, but they have rescheduled. But those are a huge revenue for them in the program. And if you can't have your normal revenue streams, obviously you have to adjust.
Well, that's a way that a lot of wrestlers make money over the summer.
Yeah,
college or senior level.
Well, and then guys, also you got to think about just the colleges, right? I mean, if you're talking I'll just tell you my bills. Like last summer at UW Parkside, we had one funky fresh camp. I think I paid them $34,000 or something like that, right? And you got to think there's many, many other camps like that. So if you multiply that by 50, that's $1.5 million or something.
Yeah. So it's spread over. I hadn't even really considered that, but yeah, spread over the entire Division I landscape, and especially for the type of programs that I was mentioning, the loss of one camp, as you said. 30,000-40,000. That's what they're trying to make up for by these, 10,000 people giving $5 each.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Can we talk about something more happy?
Well, okay. We can talk about something.
This is freaking depressing. I'm not trying to be depressed this morning.
All right. Ben's thinking happy thoughts, trying to bury his head in the sand. That's fine.
No, I already got depressed. We already talked about colleges. Yeah, we already talked about the depressing stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, along with that, the dead period has been extended through August 31st. However, that has not stopped schools from recruiting, and one of the schools that has performed very well so far for the class of 2022 is Penn, the Quakers. They have 3 guys committed right now from the class of 2022. So you're looking at Evan Mugalian from Kinnelon, New Jersey, Andrew Trzynski from Delbarton, also New Jersey, and Martin Cosgrove from Camden Catholic. Mugalian right now looking like a lightweight, Trzynski looking like a middleweight, probably 57, 65 kind of. He's got 2 more years left of high school, so we'll see how that goes. And then Cosgrove was the 195-pound Jersey State champ as a sophomore, so obviously thinking 197, 285 for him. So obviously, we can kind of talk about those guys and their accomplishments and things like that. But I wanted to kind of branch this discussion off a little bit, Ben, into, all of the ramifications of that, because part of why they have so many 2022 guys is this is the second year that rising juniors can be contacted on June 15th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, it throws such a wrench in it that those guys, right, those sophomores going into the junior year, and even juniors going into seniors didn't get to compete at all. Probably their state tournaments was the last thing they competed in. The college coaches have got to see none of them. No UWWs, no Folksdale Nationals, no Fargo, no nothing. So for me, if I was a college recruiter, I would be super hesitant. I would be calling some of these kids, but I wish I could have seen what they did this offseason. I would probably be calling as many people as possible, and these college coaches should have the proper amount of time, because they can't coach practices they can't do anything else except call, email people, and then hopefully competition resumes this fall, and then get their second, then get their eyes on these kids, and then make a better decision on what they want to do with them.
Yeah, and I mean, so as far as those guys, trying to pull up the weight class rankings. So Mugalian was he finished up number 5 at 106, and again, these are all sophomores that are going into their junior year. Trzynski was runner-up in Jersey. We did not have him in the top 20, but these guys are all on the big board. And then Cosgrove, number 17, finishing up the year at Camden Catholic. Looking at Trzynski on the big board, he is 81. Cosgrove is 60. And Mugalian is number 22. So 3 big boarders within the first, 2 weeks
pretty good
of recruiting is
Penn
pretty
RTC
good.
Also doing well. Mm-hmm. Not just Penn.
Penn RTC is crushing it. They've signed more people.
They're really starting to reap the benefits of the Slay hire.
Yeah, because Slay had a connection with a lot of those people
from his time at the OTC.
Correct. Yes, and that's kind of McKenna, Mark Hall. That's kind of, I don't want to say what's led him, but that's assisted him in gathering these people at the Penn RTC.
Mm-hmm. So you look at so McKenna joined October last year. David McFadden was in mid-April. McFadden him and Joey McKenna are basically best friends going back to their days training together at Buxton. Ben Hannes.
Oh, they are? I didn't know that.
Yeah. They are super tight. Like, I bet if they get married, they'll be in each other's weddings tight. Like,
really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Super good friends. Ben Hannes signed April 20th. Mark Hall June 12th, but with the caveat that he's got to finish up some classes at Penn State, so he'll be joining them in January. So, even with kind of guys filtering out of the Penn RTC, going on to the next phase in their career, be it coaching or whatever, even still, they're backfilling beyond just, okay, 2 guys, like BJ goes to Navy, Chase Payme goes and sets up his club in Nevada, but they backfilled even beyond that to where they lost 2 guys and they signed 4. And then I believe Valmont still plans to compete through 2021 Olympic trials, possibly beyond. So in this time of COVID, PRTC is one of the few that are growing, and everybody else is kind of in a holding pattern.
Yeah, I mean they're doing a great job, and it's pretty amazing that they have the funding too. I don't know if it's like Penn State where they have one major donor, or if they're just doing a great job of getting a whole bunch of people to donate.
Well, so funny you say that. If you the Beta Show interview that they did with Coach Slay, he said 35% of their donors are non-UPenn or Drexel alumni.
35% of donors are non-UPenn or Drexel alumni. So
Yeah.
he's doing a good job of getting out there and raising money, because obviously that's one of the biggest things he can do to. Now, how many guys do they have? What is it, 8 guys?
In terms of senior level athletes, you're saying?
Yeah.
Let me check. So the 4 I just mentioned, I believe that they are. Again, I believe Valmont still plans on continuing to compete, and they are not going to take Richard Perry off. They're just not going to do that. Ethan Lezak also on there, and Mauro Carenti. They have him at heavyweight. So yeah, they got about 8 guys on their roster, which that puts them. I mean, them and NJRTC are probably the 2 most populated.
Yes, I mean, and those aren't all that far apart. Yeah, I mean, they're doing a great job. So probably, did we ever make a list of top RTCs or no?
So Spay did it based purely off performance at, I want to say, the Open.
Yeah.
And then it gets hard because he was only doing men's freestyle, and then a lot of those people have obviously since changed, changed their RTC affiliation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and then also there's like Jaden is kind of Ohio RTC.
Kind of.
Gwiz is kind of affiliated with Nittany Lion. So there's a lot of things that they go back for. What do you think of when you think of RTCs, Ben? Because another thing, like from that Beta Show interview, Soleil was pointing out, because they asked him the question and he said, like, I disagree with Ben that it's a charity, right? I think if you have all these other things on, because he's talking about Beat the Streets Philly and helping the high school level and growing within the community, that it goes beyond just a charity, which I thought was a really interesting point that he was making. So how would you define success, though, for an RTC, Ben?
Well, so I actually had I did the Rudis podcast with Slay. We did one 45-minute episode, and we were still talking, and so we said, okay, let's circle back next week. We did two episodes back to back, and we discussed my comments on that, and his argument was that obviously they can do a lot of good in the community, which I never said they couldn't. Right? Mm-hmm. The funding is just, and I guess I kind of retracted my statement, because when I think of someone who makes money, right? You go sell a bunch of tickets, right? Or sell a bunch of subscriptions or pay-per-views, and that entity brings in money, that entity that is making money, and they pay out athletes or whatever. And essentially the RTC model, you're going to get people to donate. And so that's kind of why I think of it as charity. But I guess, hey, if there's some wealthy people who want to donate their money because they think that's where their money is best being spent, then right? I guess I don't have anything. I don't argue with that. Whatever. If that's the way they want to spend their money, that is totally fine with me. And they see that as the best use of their money. And obviously, if these guys at the Pan RTC are not only wrestling but going to help the community, helping the college programs, I don't see an issue with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Having the dual college impact. Obviously, being affiliated with Beat the Streets Philly, so kind of like expanding their purview beyond just we want to get senior level athletes paid, or we want to get high level partners for the college guys. I would like our producer Tyler to pull up this clip from Roger Reyna, because if you're kind of wondering how Slay got to Pennsylvania in the first place, he kind of touches on it here and kind of the impact on recruiting. So let's play this real quick, and then I want to get JD's thoughts.
And then for our guys, like for Brandon Slay to come from Amarillo, Texas, to move to Philadelphia and come to the University of Pennsylvania, a big part of his recruitment was that he could train with Schultz and Dolph and these guys.
Yeah.
And again, relating that to today's recruiting world and RTCs today, it's very similar, right?
So what he's referring to there is that Dave Schultz was training 12 miles away on Foxcatcher Farm. Now, obviously, that was a little different, JD, because that was just kind of happenstance that they were there, whereas Penn RTC is kind of spearheading putting this all together and keeping it right on campus.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
anytime you have a successful RTC tied to your program, it's going to be an advantage for kids that have aspirations besides college wrestling.
Do you have any thoughts on the 250-mile radius thing? That because that's something that Coach Slay kind of talks about a lot, right? He said, was it when he first took the job, like the 2015 World Team, 7 of those guys were within the 250-mile radius that could have come train at the Penn RTC if they were coming up.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, huge advantage for like a guy like Gwiz who trains out of NC State, but can regularly go to Nittany Line Wrestling Club.
Well, no, you're talking about high school kids,
there.
right?
Yeah, I'm talking about I'm talking about the high school kids.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that rule, Ben?
Well, I feel I guess I didn't even think much of it. My conversation with Coach Slade made me actually think more of it. Like, guys in the Midwest, 250 miles. Well, Texas, 250 miles gets you nowhere. Like, you can't get anywhere in 250 miles.
Yep.
And in the Midwest, it's not going to get you all that close. You're going to cover most of Wisconsin, some of Northern Illinois, maybe hit a little bit of Iowa with your 250 miles. Dude, stuff is really, really, really close together on the East Coast. Like 250 miles, that is going to get you a long freaking way. That is going to get you to most of from Philly, a lot of Pennsylvania, all of New Jersey, a decent portion of the population of New York. It's going to get you south into some of the good spots there. And so, like, man, 250 miles in the East Coast, that gets you a long, long ways.
Yeah, and some of the coaches kind of on the coast get upset with it because it's like, well, going east, my RTC radius is ocean, so my RTC radius only goes west. And then you look at getting back to the 3 kids actually committed. I mean, Camden is very close, and then Delbarton and Kinnelon are also, they're probably between 90 and 2 hours away, I guess, depending on traffic. So those guys are well within the 250-mile radius. So it makes sense. Those guys have probably at some point gone to PRTC, maybe for Sunday practice or preparation for Fargo or something during the spring and summer.
So Nomad, you can get to Springfield, Massachusetts in 250 miles, and I mean, I guess that's something. Until I talked to Slay, I didn't really even think much about the repercussions of how far that got you on the East Coast because of the population base. Mm-hmm. But man, I feel like that is just such a huge advantage for those East Coasts where the population is much more dense compared to your either Midwest and or West Coast folk.
We've talked about it a decent amount on Who's Number One, the show.
Yep.
Not just its effects on the different RTCs you can train at, but like in-state versus out-of-state recruiting as well. It's a little bit, tuition aside, but it's a little bit different out-of-state recruiting when it's still only 50 miles away.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you can get to Springfield, Massachusetts, and to Richmond, Virginia from 250 miles from Philly. I mean, you're covering a very large swath, and if you think of all the different good pockets of wrestling within that radius, man, that's just such a huge advantage for them. I mean, you got all of New Jersey, you got a good portion of Philly / Allentown, PA. You got all of Long Island in there. You got Westchester of New York. Yeah, it's huge for them.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing for me, and this has been going on, right? So this isn't exactly super new, but Ivy League softening their rules on announcing commitments. When Chris Ayers first started at Princeton, their kids couldn't announce. It wasn't a thing, right? And that's why when you look at the commitment announcements for these kids, they say committed to the admissions process. So they're still kind of hard on that, but the Ivy Leagues, you're seeing them scale back and go, it's okay for these kids to announce on social media. And could that, this doesn't just apply to Penn. Could we see, I mean, Princeton's obviously, their recruiting has gone up. There's no question about that. So could this kind of help the Ivy Leagues where every other school gets to, kid commits Penn State, Iowa, NC State, like they get to announce it, right? Steve-O got to announce it. The Ivy Leagues didn't get to do that before.
Yeah. Hey, sorry to kind of backtrack on this conversation. man, I didn't realize that. Again, I refer to this conversation with Slay I had on the Rudis podcast.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that the Foxcatcher was only 12 miles outside Philly, and I guess I don't know why I missed that, but he talked extensively about that, and that was pretty cool. And that was something that I don't know why I didn't really think of or I didn't consider all that much. But for them that was such an awesome resource, and it was really cool hearing Coach Slay talk about the stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's also something that when I was kind of coming up with topics for the week, that point, that like 12 miles thing, because Bray was on the debater show. There's two separate ones, the one with Ray, and the one with Raina, and the one with Slay. They both mentioned that 12 miles thing. So that's just like, it's just one of those details, right? That when you're pitching a kid, it's like 12 miles right down the road, 12 miles, right? Like super easy to get there. You'll have access to, I mean,
Yep.
one of the world's foremost technicians, right? Like everybody still reveres Dave Schultz.
Yeah, still reveres him. Yeah, absolutely. And that was Slay talked a lot about that in that podcast about how important that was for him.
Yeah, I'll have to listen to that one because it sounds like there's a lot of good information there between those two. So Ben, I wanted to touch on. So I have an idea for an article, and I have all the top 10 kids from the freshman class bought in. I don't like doing school lists necessarily for young guys, but I wanted to do this kind of recruiting profile. So I don't know if you want to get into those questions and what they mean, or if you want to get into questions from friends, because we're down to the last like 25 minutes here.
So if we start talking about this recruiting profiles,
we can do this tomorrow.
Yeah, we're probably gonna get there and make questions. And so, yeah, I mean, I think maybe we should have questions and we should save the recruiting profiles. I feel like this recruiting profile thing, it could, discussing all 8 questions that you have could probably take almost the whole show.
Okay, yeah, so let's touch on that tomorrow. Then we'll get to questions from friends. Tyler, we got him in the doc here. So this isn't a question. This is just a statement.
This is hilarious.
From @JWMS_Grizz. Sorry I'm late to the party. Quote, Ohio and Michigan, where they had a boundary dispute over Toledo. That history doesn't record who won the war, but we have to assume Michigan did because nobody would fight to keep Toledo. That was former Notre Dame coach Lou Holtz that said that.
That's funny. That's a good quote.
Yeah. Context, if you missed that episode, several weeks back they talked about Michigan being cowards for not taking the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
No, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin being cowards for not taking the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and then it got to the other end talking about Toledo, and there was an apparently bloodless dispute, which is that's not really a war in my opinion. This is one we didn't get to from. This is one we didn't get to from the last show, and I want my man JD to take the lead on this one. But Cooper Wills at CWills02, from 2000 2010, 3 guys won 3+ NCAA titles. From 2011 2020, which I guess I don't know how you count 20, but 9 guys won 3+, not including Spencer Chenzo, who could have been as high as 11. There are more ways to get good young, but more guys are also separating from the pack. Why do you think that is? This tweet also doubles as trivia. JD, I want your thoughts on this before we get to bed.
I think a lot of it has to do with the improvements and expansion of club wrestling. RTCs are definitely helping. Like we said, a lot of those guys on the East Coast that can get access to go train at colleges and with senior level guys at a young age. Plus, the expansion of more guys wrestling age level world championships is huge.
Yes.
We see now all the best guys are wrestling UWW cadets and juniors from a young age. So I think it's just guys being exposed to more high level wrestling at a younger age. Also, video, what Flo has done, and just being able to watch more film and whatnot, and watch more high level, senior level athletes and their wrestling. You're just seeing improvements as a whole from the entire sport, and it's just trickled down to younger kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's good. So I think, well, number one, with numbers this low, there's definitely a chance that it's just you're right, by chance. Coincidence, right? There's obviously that. But the other thing here is, obviously, in order to win 3 titles, you got to be really good, really young. I mean, it means you have to probably win one your freshman or sophomore year, because you're probably not going to, if you're that good, you're probably not going to lose, say, your senior year, although it is possible, right? So if you're going to be that good young, yes, obviously the club system, RTCs, that contributes to you having the ability to win as a freshman or sophomore. I think if you go, the further you go back, the more improvement people did when they got to college because they did not have access to higher level coaching, videos, technique, all of that type of stuff. So yeah, I think that's definitely a contributing factor.
Yeah, the age level thing is the one for me. There was a guy that did the numbers for juniors, and it's like if you medal Junior Worlds, it's like 60% chance you'll be a national champion, like 95% chance you'll be an All-American, which obviously maps.
If you win a junior.
Well, yeah, it maps because you're 20, you're
right.
Probably
right,
and you're probably already in college.
But I would venture that the numbers aren't terribly far off for cadets once we you got to allow for a little more time for cadets because
that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, but and he also didn't even include Zahid, who obviously couldn't wrestle in NCAAs, but Zahid started the year, and then Yanni also could have won his third had he not Olympic redshirt. So if all those things had happened, could have been 13. It could have went from 3 guys winning 3 titles in a decade to 13.
That's a little bit more than a coincidence.
Yeah.
That's quadruple.
But the other thing, guys, I mean, would have to take an effect then is, okay, what about 2021 to 2030, which we're not going to have the answer on for a decade, unfortunately. But it's like all of the things that have become commonplace now, the age level world championships, the RTCs, and the club system are probably only going to grow, most likely, right? I think they're all things that are going to grow in the course of the next 10 years. So will that 13 go to a bigger number, right? Or will it shrink? And if it does shrink, then how are you going to explain that away when you said the reason it went from 3 to 9 or more is because of these things, and now these things get more? What if the number shrinks?
Well,
you see what I'm saying?
I think you don't think there's going to be 39 guys winning 3 titles between 2021 and 2030?
Well, I mean, say it goes to 16, right? But what if it goes back down to 7?
Well, I 100% think that's what's going to happen, and I think you've already started to see it. If you look at, so first of all, you had like some absolutely transcendent guys that came through. I mean, that 2017 class, Spencer Dayton Yanni. Obviously, Dayton
is time traveling nomad. He said he's getting younger.
That's a good point. But like Spencer and Yanni being in the same class, like that's just hard to replicate. But I think you're already starting to see it where there's a little more parity because instead of there being 13 guys that can win 3 titles, that have the talent to win 3 titles, or maybe call it 15 because there's probably a couple other guys in there, like Mark Hall obviously made 3 finals. Yeah. Somebody said I need to call you the talentless Ben Askren.
I'm okay with that.
But you're already starting to see more parity because there are now, say, 20 to 30 guys that have the skill, and so whereas there may have only been one Brayton Lee and one Sammy Sasso coming out at a time, in the 2010 or in the 11 to 20, they're now both at the same time knocking each other off. Plus, you have the Lugo come in, right? So I think the talent is going up, and so therefore the high level talent is less likely is going to level off and go down because there's more guys picking at them. There's going to be fewer undefeated seasons. There's going to be fewer multiple time national champs in 21 to 30 as compared to 11 to 20.
coming through, meeting Jason Nolf his last 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sure. And I think it's already starting to happen, and the parity, if you follow recruiting, 19, 20, 21, 22, you already starting to see the parity there at the top. But there's also a bigger gap between, like, the top 1% is now the top 2%, but then there's a bigger gap from the 2 to the, 3 through 20.
Yes, I agree.
Andrew Spey, in 50 years, this is clearly for Ben Askren. I'm not going to field this one. What will be the most widely used application of blockchain technology?
I think it's a measure of value, right? It does a better job at measuring people's value than anything else. That's kind of what it will be doing in the future. Which I think 50 years. Who knows? 50 years is a long time, guys. There's probably be something else by then, right? 50 years is way, way far away. Think 50 years back, right? 1970. We're not dreaming of the internet. We're not dreaming of streaming video like this. We're not dreaming of email. We don't even have a conception of what that looks like in 1970. So, Yeah, I would say more like 10 years off.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Eric, at a fan of tacos. This person may be from Austin, Texas. Speculation time. If it turns out the NCAA pushes the start of the wrestling season to the second semester, do you ever see it going back to a 2-semester sport? Also, what are the pro cons of it being a 1-semester sport? I think the first question is very difficult to answer. As far as it being
to see a trial run,
as far as it being a 1-semester sport, I don't like it because I don't like that NCAA kind of dictates the senior level a lot more than vice versa. I think in every sport, the professional should kind of rule the roost, and everything should kind of follow down from there. So the cons, or at least something that needs to be adjusted, is if wrestling goes to a 1-semester sport and they want a spring semester, they need to change the timeline of the USA Wrestling calendar.
Yeah,
the
but
NCAA
if
will
you
never
change the
change their
timeline,
calendar based off of what USA Wrestling does, though.
I know
The
that,
NCAA
and
doesn't
that
give a
pisses
shoot
me off.
about USA Wrestling.
I understand that
Yeah.
it's a hard ask.
I think without the USA Wrestling piece of it, we would all say that we just wish that wrestling was a second semester sport. I think it would be much better that way. But obviously, USA Wrestling is probably not going to change because that would mean UWW would have to change. And UWW doesn't give a damn about the NCAA. So I think that's it's a tough one.
I disagree.
What?
UWW gave enough of a damn to change the Pan Am qualifier from being the week of conferences to being the week in between conferences and NCAAs.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So I guess if we start moving worlds later, if worlds were in say October instead of August or September potentially, then you could hold the trials later. So if the trials were always saying like, which they have been in the past at some points, but let's say late May. So you hold your NCAAs in early to mid-April, and then you hold your trials in say late May. That would be fine, I think.
What would be the open, right? Because it would not be feasible to ask the wrestlers to go, okay, April 25th or April 17th is NCAAs, and the U.S. Open's the next weekend.
Yeah. Okay. So you go trials mid-May, and then open mid-May, and then trials early June or something.
Right. So again, Eric, I don't know if that answers your question as far as pros and cons, but that's something that that's something that the wrestling ecosystem in America would have to address.
Well, I'll tell you one pro I think most NCAA wrestlers will tell you. I don't think you'll find any NCAA wrestler wants a longer season, but you'll find a lot who want a shorter season.
Yes.
And when it moves to 1-semester sport, it's going to get, chopped off by a month or whatever.
Yes, I agree that is a pro. Shorter season, fewer weigh-ins. The 1-semester thing also, a big thing with the 1-semester thing is grades. Right? Like, guys are all the time ineligible first semester because second semester. So the grades thing gets ironed out a lot easier. And wrestling has enough problem as it is with graduation rate and APR, something we didn't even get to touch on yesterday when we were doing the grad transfer argument, that another good thing is that if guys transfer as graduates, then those things don't get affected. And so it just kind of changes things a little bit. So, yes, there are definitely pros to it being a 1-semester sport, but of course, like everything else, there are ramifications. How much time do we have? Well,
I think there's a lot of positives to the second semester thing, or the 1-semester thing, I guess you'd say. And really, the only negative is freestyle. That's it. Is there another negative that I'm missing?
It's a big negative, though.
That's a huge negative for me, Ben.
It is, in fact, the only negative.
I don't know that it's necessarily the. Here's the thing. There are known unknowns and there are unknown unknowns. There are unknown unknowns that are cons to this.
Oh, stop. No, man. We got a lot of positives. We got one negative. I'll give you the negative is big, but it is still only one.
I think there are more positives to it, but I think there are potentially unforeseen consequences that we have not considered yet. That's what I mean.
Fair enough. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Jacob Hughley at HMA Jacob. With there being obvious hype surrounding these wrestling cards, how likely is it that we see them becoming more common? Could we get to a place where we have a UFC-style wrestling league? Could Flow support opening a division for something like this? So,
yes,
there's a lot to unpack with all of this. But I would say one thing, in my opinion, the only way to do consistent cards like this is to have recurring revenue, whether that's subscription-based model or some, you know, the way
subscription-based model.
It has to be subscription-based model, and if you disagree with me, then you have absolutely no idea of how the NBA and the MLB and NFL work, because they know what the revenue is years out. They know what the salary cap, they have an idea, or they have a rough idea of the salary cap years in advance.
Okay, but the argument there, so the argument there, Nomad, which is, so I'll push back a little bit. The UFC obviously didn't have this totally in the beginning, right? So this portion of for sure revenue has became larger and larger. So initially they had the Spike TV deal, so they were in a small amount of, you know, for sure revenue. They had the pay-per-views, which was a much larger share, and then obviously there's other ancillary revenues, but those are the main ones. Then they go to the Fox deal, okay, which means they have a bigger portion of for sure revenue, and then they have their pay-per-views, which are kind of, you know, now maybe more secondary, but also a lot of revenue. And then they transfer into the ESPN model, which, you know, we don't know all the ins and outs of that deal, but it's a much larger chunk of money up front, for sure money. And then obviously they still probably keep some portion of the pay-per-views, although all their pay-per-views are ran through ESPN Plus, so maybe they don't keep as large of a share of them. So, you know, I could see obviously, you know, in the beginning, right, it would be a larger portion of, what do you call it, like a revenue that may go up or down, that we're not sure. You know, it's based on how well the card does, like a pay-per-view. And then over the course of time, you get a more and more narrowly defined view of what the revenue is going to look like.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is a more articulate way of saying what. But the recurring revenue is the important thing. The other thing with this is the way the system is currently set up is very difficult to get athletes to consider wrestling in events that are outside of the world team trials purview. Meaning, if it's not world championships, you know, or ranking series or Pan Ams, World Team Trials Final X US Open, is very difficult to get people to wrestle in those things, because it kind of pulls them off that path.
There's not much incentive right now.
And that's another reason why the recurring revenue subscription-based model is the way that you kind of have to look at it, because whoever supports this, obviously Flo being the one that has probably the greatest stake in this at this point, whoever's supporting this kind of has to have an idea of what money is available to them, so that they can say, this is our budget for the athletes, and from there continue to grow it, so that, you know, I mean, the point for the subscription base is to continue to grow it. And so the first card makes this much, or, you know, at least doesn't lose much, and so there's a plan going forward where after a certain amount of time, this is the budget that we have, and then you're just negotiating with the athletes within that budget.
That's kind of, I mean, obviously I think this discussion is long and nuanced, and
It's a whole episode. It's a whole episode.
It's a whole episode. I've done 2 pro leagues. I've failed twice. I've been in the mixed martial arts game, so I have a pretty damn good understanding of how it works and how the revenues are flow. And I think so. I would say obviously Flow is in a position that no wrestling entity has been before, right? And so Flow, when we did FPL, which was 2014. Is in a much better place than they were, right? Much different place. And so they are actually in a position where they can make the pro thing happen. If anyone else tried to make it happen, so first and foremost, you'd have to have a distribution outlet, right? Which would mean online, or you pay, say, like, RPW, Real Pro Wrestling. You know, they paid to put it. They paid to put it on TV, because no one is begging for a pro league on wrestling. So if some of you people don't know how this works that are listening, this is what's the poker thing called? World Series of Poker, right? They paid to put their entity on TV initially. ESPN did not pay them in the beginning, right? And so unless someone is very desired to be on TV, you will actually pay to be on TV, not be paid to be on TV. And
wrestling has done this with college wrestling.
We paid?
This has happened. People have paid to put college wrestling events on television.
Okay, and so now the NCAA championships is a big enough deal where they are getting paid to be on TV.
Talk about other
Yeah,
things,
so you got to have your distribution model set up, whether it's going to be an online. So obviously streaming, everything is going towards streaming. Everything is going away from cable TV. So, people who say, oh my God, it's got to be on TV or it doesn't count. You guys are idiots. You guys literally don't understand where business is going and where distribution is going. Distribution is going way more towards online streaming, whether it's Netflix, Hulu, or Flow, right? All right, I'm gonna be done because I could just go on and on and on, and I feel like I'm gonna take up the rest of the show on this topic.
Yes, this is a whole show, and there's a lot to unpack. Last point on this before we get to the next question. There's a difference between a league and a persistent set of cards, and what is more likely.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Oh, so like
a league meaning teams or a format, or like everything is tied together. As opposed
would you consider the UFC a league or no?
No.
They have rankings.
What? They do have rankings,
but they
sure.
have belts, and they have belts. So, I mean, you have a ranking, you want to move up the ranking, and then you want to get the belt. Why wouldn't you consider them
Sure.
a league?
That's a good point. I would say, I guess, there's a league, meaning there are teams, they compete for, like, their league, meaning there's duels, they compete for a championship at the end. There's a league, meaning there's the UFC, which is a little more loosely structured as far as the rankings and the belts and how you become number one contender and how the title matchups are set up. And then there's just like cards, good matchups.
Yeah. The
so
UFC,
I think obviously
it's not like you have these guys, your number 3 is always gonna wrestle your number 6, and then like a bracket every Sunday you have this, yada yada yada, until you get your
that's what I mean.
finals.
Yeah. So I think obviously if you're going to start, you're going to have a loosely based collection of cards, but I think eventually if you're going to succeed as a wrestling promotion, you need to have some more meaning behind it, which means you essentially become like, I would say, a UFC type league where there is a champion at said weight class and people are vying for that belt because it brings them some type of monetary incentives to be the champion. I think that's the only way it would ever work full time. And I know when I was trying earlier in my other 2 attempts, it doesn't, right? There's no value in the beginning, right? So when you start number 1, there's nothing to say be the champion of that. There's no value to that. Whereas there's a lot of value tied to, say, being an NCAA champion, being a world champion, being an Olympic champion. Mm-hmm. And it would take, and probably in the beginning, right? UFC 1, well, there was a tournament, right? But there's not a whole lot of value in the beginning. And the more history you have with something, the more value there is to being a champion of said organization.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into this. And again, it could be a whole show, but those are kind of just some very surface level thoughts because we could go a whole week on this, honestly. All right. Real Avery Lynch at YoungBull_Lynch. If you couldn't be teammates with guys that were teammates, who would be the 9 guys joining you in a lineup from other colleges?
So, like,
and we'll close the show.
So I couldn't pick anyone from Missouri or what?
You couldn't pick like Chenzo and Hall.
With. Oh,
wait.
That's not how I read it.
Wait.
If you couldn't be teammates with guys that were teammates, meaning Chenzo and Hall, Sasso and Pletcher.
Am I just trying to make the best team, or am I trying to make guys that I think I would get along with?
Yeah, I think this is a camaraderie buddy thing.
Okay. Yeah, because
this was think about it.
Man, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know everybody. So how am I gonna say it's probably like a bunch of dudes that I would like be best friends with, and I don't even really know them.
I know this is your opinion.
But there's so many people. I have no idea. I literally have no opinion of what they're like personally. I might have an opinion of their wrestling skill set, but I literally don't. I'm not like you where I've got to travel around and go to a lot of college wrestling tournaments. I mean,
sure.
I went to Midlands last year and a few duels, and that's really it. You know, like I don't have a good idea of, you know, even say the top 10 in every weight class. I don't really have a good idea of what each one of those people is like. So I feel like I would just sound like dope answering this question.
Fine. I will try to attempt it based on relationships I've developed with guys. 20 and I'll decide which weight I'm at.
Nomad, you know what? I'm gonna save you, Nomad. People are gonna be pissed at you for answering this, so I would just not answer if I were you.
Well, it's just I'm not saying
people
that,
are
here's what I mean.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Nomad. Don't do it.
Okay, fine. Yes. I won't say it because we're down to the wire anyway. But if I picked someone for this team, it isn't because
else is gonna be mad at you.
I understand that, but it isn't because I think less of them. It's just because I have a relationship with that person that has developed. Doesn't mean I can't develop another good relationship with a person I didn't pick. But I'm not going to do it because we're out of time anyway.
People are sensitive. People are sensitive. They are going to get mad at you. So I wouldn't do it if I were you.
Nomad wants 9 Sebastian Rivera's.
Sebastian will be one. Sebastian will be one. I have a good relationship with him.
He wants all the heat. Nomad wants all the heat from everyone who's going to be mad at him for not picking them.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll call it a day then. We'll end on that. There are several good questions that we didn't get to today, including another good one from Nick Kroninger. Make sure you watch Bader's show today. They have on Sean Gray. It's his birthday. And then Harry Turner from NJCU. We'll have one more episode of FRL this week. JD will be on it. Then he's going to fly back to Iowa. Ben didn't get us kicked off Facebook today, as far as I know. Make sure you're watching FRL 517 tomorrow. FRL 517 tomorrow. Who's number one on the show later this week? Fake Chamizo, July 25th. Don't miss it.